Cycle 2, week 17 is called Energy Conversion and Holding Steady using the Cornerstone lesson plans. So this is going to be a really fun week. We have our materials as you see here. And so what you're going to do first is walk the kids through creating this experiment using this diagram that I will have laminated for you. But you can also just verbally talk them through it. I think the diagram is going to be most helpful to just check that they did it correctly, but otherwise you can read the instructions as they're written and tell them what you're doing. But this whole week we're talking about mass, gravity, velocity, acceleration, potential energy, and kinetic energy. So kids will either be in pairs or they might be in groups of 3. At most, they'll be in groups of 4. So we'll have at least 2 of these going on at the same time, maybe as many as 4, just depending on how many books I can gather that are the right thickness, because the books need to be a half an inch thick. So you're going to walk them through setting this up. So they're gonna put one book down, and then using this ruler, they're going to place the edge of the book on the 8 mark. So see how it's right here. The edge of the book is at the 8 hash mark. And then they're going to have a piece of paper that they just put out. And then they're going to mark the end of the, they're going to draw a line at the end of the ruler. So they're going to draw a line, and then they're going to write ruler there so that they don't forget that's where it was. And then they're going to place their cup right in front of the ruler. It doesn't matter where. The important thing is that at the back of the cup, Fiona, stop please. At the back of the cup, they're going to make a line, and they're going to write start. Hopefully you can see how I did that. I wrote start. Okay, then experiment number 1. They're going to place their marble on the edge of the book at that 8 mark, and they're going to let it roll. Okay, you see that the cup moved back slightly. So I'm going to press my finger down on the cup so it won't move. I'm going to make another mark, and I'm going to write trial 1 on it, okay? Then I'm going to pick my cup back up, place it back. I'm going to line everything, make sure everything's still lined up. I'm going to place my cup back at that starting line. All right, make sure everything's good. Okay, and now we're going to add a book. And we're going to make sure everything else is the same. So the only, Fiona, stop please. Stop please. So the only thing that we're changing is the number of books. Okay, and so again, I'm going to mark, and I'm going to say trial 2. Okay. All right. So see, you can see on my marks that they're backing up. So they're going to go all the way to 3. They're going to go 3 books, same thing. 4 books, same thing. So I'm going to try it out just for funsies. I nudged it, so I have to make sure I fix it, okay? Okay, so when they're done with all those, they're going to be able to see how each time the height was raised, the kinetic energy built up and was able to, and the gravity and velocity and the acceleration all were able to increase because of the number of books increasing. Fiona, can you turn that off for me, girlie? And it's going to back up. Now, the lesson plan has you making a graph with the kids. I think that's kind of complicated and kind of unnecessary to talk about this stuff. So we can talk about it at the tutor meeting to see what you guys want to do. But at most, I think you guys could do that as a class and draw it like on a whiteboard. I mean, they've got this kind of thing where you can be measuring how far they went and graphing it. If you want to go for that, go for it. If you don't, I think even just seeing all that happening and then talking through those vocabulary terms like the lesson plan talks about will be plenty. That's just my opinion. So that is week. Okay, the second activity for week 17 is called holding steady. So we're going to have a can of soda and a piece of paper and a rag. put the piece of paper under the edge of the rag. Let's back this up. Okay, so I'm putting it at one end, and then they're gonna drag it slowly and talk about how the can, because of friction, the can stays on the piece of paper while moving slowly. But if we grip the paper and fold it like that, and then I'm holding pretty tight, but I'm gonna pull really quickly, keeping my hand low to the ground, and it comes right out. Because of inertia, like all matter, the can has inertia. So it stays in place if it has not been moved, or it keeps moving if it's being moved in the same direction. So when it's being pulled slowly, the friction between the can and the paper keep them together. But when the paper is pulled quickly, the force of the can's inertia is stronger than the force of friction between it and the paper. So the can stays in the same place while the paper slides out from underneath it. So that's really fun. And then try the same thing with a cloth. So again, if we pull it, we can pull it just fine. The friction's keeping it together. But if we do the same thing, it is impossible to pull it out smoothly. And you can let the kids try different things. You can let them maybe gather more in their hand and get closer. You can try a different surface. Like I tried a slick surface. It still didn't work. You could let them do it, on the hard floor versus the carpeted floor. You can let them try different things to see if they can figure out a way to rip this out from underneath quick enough that it won't fall over. But it is impossible. So it will not be able to be done because the can is much, the friction between the cloth and the can is so much higher that that it's just not able to overcome that friction. So that's what the second thing is about. Possibly we will be doing this in pairs where all the kids can try this on their own. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. So it'll either be one set, but still, the kids can take turns trying this, especially this. This is so fun. Like, oh, wow. Like, that's almost like a parlor trick that you could take home and show off. So stay tuned for more words on how many different ones we'll have in